je m'appelle Flamer2. Je m'appelle Sensuel-Bas. Salut, je m'appelle Grand Marguerite et je suis du 7e arrondissement de Paris. Bonjour Grand Marguerite. Salut, je m'appelle Prêt à tout.
Carmen, Doma, welcome in your exhibition. Jusqu'ici, tout va bien. First question, why this title?
I think in our research with fembots especially and bots in general, we came to the sort of viewpoint that we are at a time where things are changing between bots and humans, and up until now everything is fine. We don't really know where it's going to go from here. That was the feeling we had.
How can you introduce the project which is presented here?
Yeah, we're working in a tradition of working with bots in the previous project also, and there was like a specific case happening a year ago in July 2015, where this big database was leaked online. The software, the database, the user database of this adult platform called Ashley Medicine, which is supposed to be one of the biggest adult platforms on the internet. The idea was it was targeting people which are in marriage, and their claim was, hey, life is short, have an affair. So it was about people who are kind of in a marriage situation to find maybe a partner, to have like an affair, to cheat maybe your wife and have a good life. So in 2016, in July, the Impact team, which was the name of this hacking group, they told Ashley Medicine that they should shut down their company. If they wouldn't shut down, because something has happened there, if they would shut down the company, they would leak all the data. And Ashley Medicine did not go for that. They kept the website online. And with that leak, it became public that out of the 40 million users which were on this platform, there were only 2,000-3,000 women and all the other men. So the question was, who is the rest? I mean, like, to whom are those people speaking to? And then by analyzing the database, the public and journalists and software developers and hackers found out that there were 75,000 robots, female robots, chatting with the people. So there was no human-human interaction on this side, only interaction between men and female bots, which were speaking with the people, trying to engage them, writing them emails. As soon as you would log in from Paris to the Ashley Medicine website, bots from Paris would appear and try to talk to you. And the credit system of Ashley Medicine worked like this, that you spend money for the time being online in this kind of conversation. So they really targeted the people to kind of to play with that.
Yeah, in this room there is 61 screens, all is pink, and it's really an exhibition in relation with Paris. Why 61?
Mm-hmm. So we've been looking at this leak data from Ashley Madison, and what we found really, what impacted us in the beginning was the question of the intelligence of these bots. Are they so intelligent that people don't realize they're speaking to bots? We quickly realized that the system was very intelligent. So the system that made people pay for these interactions was a lot more intelligent than the bots. And for this exhibition, we extracted the data for Paris. In Paris, there were 61 bots talking to people, to around 44,000 Paris users. 61 bots chatted to them. They all have a name, they have an age, and they all live in Paris, so they also have an address. because through the app you could see, who was nearest to you. And the 61 screens, or I think what we try to do with the screens here is to translate or to give these bots a presence outside the online, to bring them to Paris, where they also virtually live, and bring them to one room where they can develop a certain presence.
A physical manifestation.
Yes, and the pink also comes directly from Ashley Madison. It was the corporate colour, which is really nice because it's also the corporate colour of Centre Culturel Suisse. And yeah.
Yeah, so we'd just like to maybe go back to the question of the interest. What about the system of Ashley Madison, what was kind of interesting is that although it was a communications platform and there was no communication, the main trick by Ashley Madison was to force the user to a position so he could not speak to anybody. He could not speak about his experience of having these strange chats with bots, which was kind of strange because, you had nobody to go to. You could not go to your wife and say, hey, I'm trying to cheat you on this site and I'm speaking to robots. Or you couldn't go to your best friend and tell them the story that you're losing hundreds of dollars by chatting with robots. It was a bad story to tell. So this was the real intelligent thing from them. So they produced a system which kind of evolved into an omerta, where actually you couldn't speak about your experiences having with those bots. And we really like kind of this new relationship also, which was maybe developed there between the users and these female robots, because we think that relationship and starting to flirt also with a robot is still real for you. You're kind of mentally, you are in that story of writing to somebody, she writes back, and then you write back, and there's a misunderstanding, and you might always look for the error at your side, not at the other side. And in the end, there was no sexual contact at all between those two entities because it was not possible. So the communication also died at a certain point, but maybe another chatbot was there already at that time to ping you up again and try to engage with you.
In addition to these 61 fembots present in the exhibition, there are a couple of neon pieces. It's also part of the process of communication between the human and the database. What can you say about these captchas?
So the neon pieces are captchas, which is one of the most basic forms of identifying bots online. So on a lot of services, bots are not allowed, or they're not welcome in that sense. So humans have to solve a captcha, which is like an image of letters you have to then write in. And we use these captchas, we translated the standard pickup lines of the bots to captchas to sort of draw focus to this dividing line between humans and bots, which is, at the moment, it's going into totally separate directions, into totally opposite directions, we feel. So on the one hand, you have bots becoming more and more present as personal assistants like Siri with Google. And on the other hand, bots or algorithms are completely disappearing in the subtext of the internet as search engine robots, robots that help you choose your food before you order in the evening, that type of thing, or that you can't see. And the captcha is sort of it's like a clear line you can still identify. Where there is a captcha, it's clear, no bots allowed. Bots are intelligent enough in many cases today to solve captchas. This is also interesting. So you still have captchas, but actually bots can also solve them.
Many of them, but not all.
Not all.
So, but there's also like this specific moments of where you need human help to solve that capture. So if you, for instance, when we started to ask ourselves how can we play with like an amount of bots, is there a possibility to maybe set up 61 Instagram profiles for the bots which are here, or Twitter accounts or whatever. 61 you can do by hand, but if you play with 75,000 Ashley Madison bots, you cannot do it. So how do you solve these captures? You need to find the solution for that. And what we found out in the research, that there are many services at the moment, mostly in Southeast Asia, in Thailand, in Vietnam, in kind of this area, where you as a software developer can ask for human help there. So you have a captcha you need to solve, you cannot solve it with your program, the bot cannot solve it. But you send it to them, and within 10 seconds they need to reply and solve it, and they will send you the text back. And it's a crazy system because there are hundreds of people sitting in one room and doing like stupid work robots cannot solve and should be only human solvable. But you have like this strange kind of situation where they are misused as bots at the moment, and cheap labor. And this is something we don't feel when we are kind of having like when we are interacting with these devices which we have. There are like many situations that many people sitting behind that doing like stupid work, which is kind of
which is, so it's actually people who make bots, armies or groups of bots, they then enslave humans to do bot work, you could say.
You work with internet from years now. It's your material, is internet. What do you think for the next years about the relationship between robots and humans? The evolution?
It's really hard to say. I think there's something that from experience you can say about technology. There are always early adopters, like the chat, sex, or the porn industry that sort of are very early in adopting technology. This is also why Ashley Madison, I mean, it's not a coincidence that Ashley Madison used fembots, or is still using fembots. So you have, on the one hand, you have this very closed discussion at the universities about artificial intelligence, and on the other hand, the people using it usually use it against humans, or to make money, to sort of enhance their services. And I think this is probably one direction that will keep going. Bots will be more and more intelligent. We think that a lot of services that are now run by humans will be run by bots in the future. But we actually think that the development is going to be a lot more interesting in those areas where you can't see the bots, in search engines or in technologies that underlie our services, where you don't even feel there's interaction.
There's internet, but there is internet.
Yeah.
Because it doesn't work anymore if the network is down. So
exactly.
We have like this kind of strange feedback loops at the moment, that electricity is only working when the internet is working, because they are the grid they made,
and
they're
the
communicating,
grid is
intelligent, and they're working over the internet. So you have like this strange feedback loops of how infrastructure is really kind of getting wired up to the net and try to become somehow.
And you think it's possible now to break internet? Like an explosion to stop everything?
I mean, like the internet is a decentralized network. So the way it works is that like power is kind of given to a network where if you lose one node, it still works because it works around it. But
Yeah.
there are still like certain moments or certain specificas where you feel that if they are too centralized, or if they are becoming centralized, if the service becomes centralized, it becomes dangerous. And this is like a fight which will be ongoing also, because many states are now involving into like actively also developing cyber armies and you know, and do kind of their wars on the internet, trying to, if you have the ability to shut down the internet of one nation, their communication is gone.
Yeah.
You know, you will win the war at the
Yes.
moment, and this is where a lot of money is going through at the moment, and many development. So we have like this term of cyber war at the moment, and as a friend of ours, Jacob Appelbaum, proposed, we should also have like the term cyber peace, and try to you know, engage with that and think about, you know, what are other possibilities than, you know.
I think I don't think you can shut down the internet, or maybe you can shut down this internet, but the idea of being able to communicate through small devices with people, I think that's here. You can't, it's like, you know, when you develop book printing, you can't get rid of book printing
anymore.
But the press, I mean, the actual thing that does the printing, that will change, and you can get rid of an old one and build a new one or a different one or whatever. But I don't think the idea goes away. And it's the same with the internet. I think there will always be, I mean, you know, if thinking of shutting down the internet in a nation state means you shut down their connection to the world, but you cannot shut down internal connections.
Your own, or
You can still have a neighborhood network if you want one. It's easy to set up, and I'm sure people would do that, so it would evolve from there. And yeah, we actually think it's, I mean, let's see how it goes. Up until now, all is good. But I think it's also something really good to have people be involved with other people, you know, with their neighbors. The network is not bad in itself. It's, I think a lot of the discussion at the moment is also about ownership and who has access to which data, and how much data is accumulated where, and where do you leave your data, and what can you do with that data, those types of questions.
And I have just a last question. Why your name, the sense of your name?
Mediengruppe Bitnik? Yeah, it's like we started at the Art University by basically hiding a computer inside the server network of the Art University in Zurich and naming that computer Bitnik.
Yeah.
And
But just to say, this was in a time where internet was not everywhere.
Was
you
not
know,
everywhere.
where it was costly,
and
you cannot,
very expensive to have your own
Exactly.
server running somewhere. So
because today it makes absolutely no sense.
we had this server
anymore.
Bitnik running at the Art
Yeah.
University, and it was online 24 hours, and we could
And that
set
was
up-
like, whoa.
you could put up a website there, and you would be accessible. You had a voice outside, so we started to experiment. And around this Bitnik computer, which was there, hiding behind cables, like a Trojan horse, like this group of people formed. In the end, like now it's more or less Carmen and me, which are working there. They're we're still working together over 13 years now, I think. But in the beginning, it was kind of open. Everybody who needed like a server to do stuff could come and use the Bitnik server and experiment within telephones in the city, within the internet. So we really started from that kind of a small machine, which was the name of Bitnik, and there's a group around it. It's still there.
Yeah, the computer's still at the university.
So they
It's
found
legalized now.
they found out after a year that there is like a strange computer hidden somewhere, but they started to they legalized it, so we got an official thing, and it's still there. And I think they are also proud what happened with that computer, because we did a lot of performances. We used the Bitnik machine at the Art University Network in Zurich, and it's still there, and it's kind of good. It's good to be there, and it gives us freedom. We can still experiment, and yeah, we're kind of happy and glad for that.
Carmen?
Doma, thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thank you.